Good afternoon again. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to introduce Tom Funstein. He will go ahead and start our program. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. And I'm actually going to introduce Kelly back because Kelly is filling in for Monisha. So a lot of you guys know Monisha is out on maternity leave. So she'll be out for probably a good part of the summer. So Kelly is been on board since middle of March and learning a lot about not just the LMS, but also assisting with the curriculum projects, degree programs, COE, etc. So we're thankful to have Kelly here. And while Monisha is out, and she had what was last week? She had a baby girl. So she has two girls. So with that, though, again, welcome everybody to the second, I think this is the second LMS 2.0 overview training that we, I think this is open to all folks, those that are interested in learning more. So hopefully up to this point, we really appreciate the feedback, whether that's been in this large setting or individual feedback. I know we're getting it through task force. We get it through our curriculum task force. Also getting it through from your students, and as we continue to roll out the LMS 2.0, again based on feedback, again over since its inception that we've been compiling on the needs to meet the needs for your instructors, or you as instructors, your instructors, as well as to your apprentices and/or students. So I know the group here at the iFTI, Donna, Alice, and Kelly and Monisha, they've been really, and Nicole too, she's been getting a good quick study in it as well. I've been working really hard to make sure that they are being responsive to the issues, especially if they're critical issues to your program. So again, we want to welcome you, and I know today they're going to go over some of the things in particular, the learning paths, right? I think that's something that we've been looking forward to, as well as obviously some of the reporting and the resources that are available. So we want to continue to thank you for your support as we continue with the transition and the rollout. And as always, be as honest as you can be. And again, if it's something that we can do and fix, or make that improvement upon, we'll do our best to do that. So I want to welcome everybody again, and I will then now turn it over to, I'll just turn it back to Donna, who's going to probably flip it to Ken, but I'll give it back to Donna.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So we have Ken Rogers from Kelly Press, our LMS provider. So he'll give us some updates of the enhancements since we last launched the LMS back in January. And he'll also address some of the top issues or concerns, including the slowness that some have experienced logging in or launching the dashboard. Ken? Hey, Ken, we can see your screen, but I think you're still muted because we can't hear you.
Now you can hear me. Sorry about that.
Yep, we can. Thank you.
So these are some of the release notes that we've had since it was the new version was released back in January. We did change some of the discussion board enhancements to make them a little more flexible. We did add Microsoft Teams to the online to go along with Zoom and GoToMeeting, things like that. Other things that you guys would use, we did enhance the instructor-led training modules. We do have bulk uploads of users. We have the reports for discussions that are available now. And so basically this document will go through and show everything. So if I go down to page 7, these are the types of things that are in the discussion. Before it was just simple text. So now you can change it to bold and put hyperlinks, images, videos, Emojis, there's a whole list of emojis. I don't know if anybody really uses all of them, but you know, smiley faces and things like that. So you can add those to any of your discussion boards. Some of these other features, you're not using things like LinkedIn single sign-on because you guys are using the IMS to get there. But in the instructor-led training modules, some of the material has been updated that allows you to better control what's happening with that. So you can come in, we've updated the learning guide to make sure that it was clear when rosters are full, what you do with waiting lists. So all this documentation is available, and Donna can make that available to everybody. What happens when a learner tries to enroll a course with no upcoming sessions. So how things like that are handled. If I go down to the bulk upload for users to groups, here's the LMS. This is a sample. So when you're in your groups and you click on properties and go to your group members, you now have the ability to upload bulk users to that. It's basically just like the user upload. You would just browse to your computer, get the list of, and it's basically just the usernames, and you would upload them instead of just clicking on add users, searching for a name. Actually, I'm already in there. I don't think it'll come up. And then putting them into individually or multi-select, however you do that. So now you can do that via bulk upload. You also have, let me get that back over where it was. On page 27 with alerts and notifications as you go through the system. When alerts and triggers are set, that's been updated a little bit as well. So on page 27. So as they go through, you'll be able to see that alerts for different areas will be popped up and where they show up in there. So once you guys start using the system a little bit more with alerts for instructor-led training or adding people or things that need to be taken care of by administrators, the alert section has been updated and taken care of for there as well. And all the documentation is there. We also have the complete documentation for everything that's available in the LMS. So any questions that you have, this is going through and being highlighted and branded FTI. And then the other documents that we have, we do have single sign-on for Google, Clever, Facebook, Widget, things like that. Administrative experiences that we've updated. You guys really don't have purchases. Catalog, course information has been enhanced. We did update a lot of information in the email notification, especially with like hours of operation and things like that. We talked about the instructor-led training, add users and wait lists, things along those lines. We're still talking about adding Zoom or GoToMeeting or Microsoft Teams. That's a discussion with the iFTI and Kurt on, you know, how that the best to handle that and what service they want to use going forward with that. So those are the basic new release items that are in since we released it back in January. Donna, do you have any other further questions?
Yeah, and if you can talk about the top escalations and what we've done so far.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of the releases, there were a bunch of bug fixes and things like that that were done within the LMS as well. The one thing that was big early on was the slowness. We did find that it was basically the number of enrollments that were in users. Once you, the widgets that are in the dashboard actually contain a lot of information. We went through and the average number of users that have enrollments was about 20 to 30. I want to say it was like 28. But they're the users, and they're usually the administrators that are basically wanted to be enrolled in everything. Some of them had 200, 300. There was a few people that had like 600 or 800 enrollments. Well, each one of these tiles or icons has to contain the due date, the expiration date, your progress, how far were you, all that data that was behind that, and it has to go through and build all that every single time the pages got loaded. So the recommendation was to limit the number of enrollments that those people had. We are, I believe the next version will have this screen as paged. So the first page will load and then load the balance of the pages. So it will be a lot quicker the way that the LMS loads the enrollments. Everything else in the LMS has been fine. The data, the reports, launching of courses, all that kind of stuff. But it was really just the excessive amounts of enrollments with all the data that's needed for those tiles to load properly. One of the other things that we talked about, this was the Zoom integration, things along those lines. We're still looking at the best solution, whether it's Zoom, how to implement that and roll that out between Kurt and Alice and I. The group search and just the search in general. The search was changed dramatically, and it basically uses a Google search, but the Google search also removes specialized characters, which they call noise characters. So that supposedly was removed. I'm not quite sure that all of the noise characters were removed because I'm not still happy with the way the search results come up. So I have the data team reviewing that as well. It is a lot better, but it's still not as accurate and clean as what I feel it should be. So they're going to go back in and tweak that some more. We did have one escalation with one specific person that it took a while to figure out why this person wasn't able to manage users in their groups. And really it came down to the way the system was set up for that user. It was because they were given group creator permissions, but were limited in the manager position, user manager permissions for them. So basically, they created a new group that they didn't have manager permissions over that, over the users that were in that group. So that's why it was pretty tricky to find that. So basically, it was the way the user was set up. We are looking at a way so that when you create a group, it will automatically prompt you for creating the permissions to manage the users in that group, instead of doing it manually and separated right now. So those were the main things that we were kind of working on in the back end. The majority of everything else has been fixed and adjusted. So back to you, Donna.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Any questions for Ken? Again, if you have any questions, you can use the chat box or raise your hand. And he started showing the manual, so I'll go ahead and share my screen and show you where to find those documents or resources available in the system. So if you log into the LMS, there are two widgets where you can find documents. So go to your My Dashboard, then you will find the widgets for My Communities and the widgets for documents. If you already started looking at the NGS and AMP documents, it would be the same way that we'll start delivering resources for admins. So all the admins, they belong to the group admin level all-one, and from there, you can open this community and you can ask questions or start the discussion. Then you can also review the resources available. So we started loading the catalog, the program study, then the manuals that Ken just showed us, they're available here. We have the manual and the release notes. And after this webinar, we'll be updating the manual and adding the link for the webinar. Then aside from that, we started adding also the templates for the imports, and we'll move forward and transfer all of the data or files from the LMS admin, because the traditional way of us sending or uploading documents in the LMS was just creating courses. There was an LMS admin course, and you had to go through the course and find the course materials, but now you can just go to the community or even go back to the My Dashboard and type in the documents. Like the sample for app, you can just type in app or NGS and you can find that. Let's say we received a question from Tiffany from District Council 6, and she was looking for course codes. So you can just type in the codes and you should get that spreadsheet where you have all the course codes and course names in the LMS. So there you go. You can just click that and download those resources. Aside from that, we can go back to the LMS homepage. So anytime that we receive an escalation, if it's a system issue, we use the alerts area or the ticker. So sample questions that we receive, like the courses are locked, what happened to the red vector courses, my courses are missing. So we just sent out that email a few days ago, and that's part of this ticker. And we already updated the help area and the frequently asked questions link from the home page. Also, the slider has the LMS updates, and there's a new slider here that talks about the learning path. So we'll add more information, including the link to the webinar in that blue slider. Again, you can also navigate your questions or escalations through here and find out if there are related articles or alerts that can address your issue. So we have, let's say for missing courses, it was telling students or apprentices to enable their learning path widget so that it would automatically populate their enrollments widget. So those are some of the resources available on the homepage and upon signing on to the LMS. So as we get more information, we'll keep updating these areas in the LMS. So for this webinar, we'll be focusing on learning paths. So there was a question after the launch that they have asked us. So a lot of admins were asking, where are the enrollments in the groups? So at first, while we were transitioning to learning paths, we were the one managing the enrollment. So Kelly will demo the learning path and show us the recreated group enrollments. So she has spent a lot of hours in this feature, and she'll be the best person to talk about it. So Kelly, I'll stop sharing my screen. There you go.
Thank you, Donna. Share my screen here. So in the dashboard, you can click on your learning paths as the widget. Donna mentioned that it can be located here. It looks like a road or a path. And to enable that, click on the icon, and it will automatically take it down to the bottom of your list here. But you can move the widget to place it where you would like. And from there, your learning path is a series of courses grouped together. So this is a listing of all the courses. So once a apprentice or a member is in the learning path, then they will receive all of the enrollments in that learning path. You can access the learning path by your admin menu here on Learning Assets, which is the that's a blue book. Click on your learning paths. And here you will search for your learning path. For this case, we're going to look at DC 46. And as you search DC 46, you'll see there's several different learning paths here. They'll all be listed based on the criteria that you enter. We'll look at the basic level apprenticeship. And from here, you have the dashboard for your learning path. And this is the information. So you have information when it was created and last modified, the actions that you can take. So create a new learning path material, create a new certificate, create a new email notification, create a new enrollment. Here's the information about your enrollments, and then you'll have the course statistics as well. Your next icon is your learning path properties. Again, it looks like a road or a path. This here is all the information for your learning path. So if you're creating a new learning path, you would want to copy and paste the group name and enter it here. And you have a couple options here if you want to publish it, keep the course closed, yes or no, self-enrollment, self-drop options as well. You can enter the short description. We enter the group name or the learning path name, description as well, and then search tag. Search tag is good if somebody is searching for a specific learning path or course. You can enter that here. You would save changes. And once you see this pop up, your change has been successfully saved. Okay. Your second tab here are the courses. This is the list of all the courses that are included in your learning path. So you have all the courses here. You can scroll through them. To add a new course, select courses. You can search for a course here, highlight the course, add courses. If you select done, it brings you back to your menu. Scroll down, the course is added to the bottom of the list. And to delete a course, simply click the red X and it deletes it from the learning path. There's also another option in the courses. You can move these courses and arrange them in any way you'd like. If you want them in alphabetical order or in number order, just simply grab and move. And of course, save your changes. Our third tab is the materials. So this is good for anything like if you have a course schedule or anything like that. So you would add new learning path material. You can name it, and I'll name it course schedule. Choose file. This will open your options for files. Choose your file by highlighting. Open. It inserts the file. You can make this private. You can choose options for languages. Again, you can do search tags. Click Create Learning Path Material, and it's been successfully saved. Hit Cancel, and that brings you back to your menu. So here is your document that you saved. In order to delete documents, simply click the checkbox and click the red X. Are you sure you want to delete? Yes. Are there any questions? Donna, do you have anything to add? Okay, great. Our next icon is certificates. Now this is a new feature that we haven't seen thus far. So this gives you the option of creating a new certificate, or you can create a new certificate from templates that we have available. So
Kelly, there's a question from the chat.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, if you can go back to the list of courses, he's asking about that option, completing it in order. So maybe we can talk more about that.
Okay, we'll go back. Okay. So the courses are added, again, by searching your course. Oops. Highlight and add the course. Once you've added all the courses that you would like to add to your learning path, click Done, and they'll be here in your list. You can click and drag the courses to place them in order. Now, that's something that could be up to you, whether you want them in alphabetical order, if you want them in order of the way that your apprentice sees them. That's up to you.
Kelly,
Does that answer the question?
This is Ken. I think the question was on that checkbox that says force courses to be completed in order.
Oh,
If
yes.
If you select that box, then every course will be locked except for the first one, and they have to be done in order. Basically, it sets them as prerequisites. So if you uncheck that, they can jump around and take any course in any order they want, but the learning path will not be marked as complete until every course that's in there is completed. If you select that force courses to be completed in order box, then it does exactly what it says. It forces them to be completed in order, and each one will be stacked on top of each other as a prerequisite.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, and Kelly, this was a request back when we had the old LMS, because when the apprentices sign on, all they see is a bunch of courses, and there was no way for us to actually have them organized in a manner where it's similar to the curriculum. So now with the learning path, the DOTs or the coordinators can actually set up the sequence of the courses.
Okay, great. Anything else? Okay, we'll save changes. And we'll move back to the certificates. Again, from here, you can make a new certificate, or you can create a new certificate from the templates that are uploaded. So if we click New Certificate from Template, we have different options here for the templates that have been uploaded. If we select iFTI, we can preview it. Here's a preview of the certificate based on the information that is uploaded on the template. Here we can use template. And from here, we can build the certificate. You would want to name your certificate, the courses, or excuse me, the credits, if it's active, award if you want to reissue as it expires, if the certificate expires or not, any description you would like to add. And you go back to the top for the second tab, you want to create the certificate in the certificate builder. So this certificate as a template already has the fields in place. So if you hover over different fields, you'll see that they can be moved or changed or even deleted if necessary. Now, if you use a template and there's something additional you would like to add, you can click on the menu here, the red menu square, open that up, and it gives you different options for fields you can enter. So simply grab and drag, and these can be moved anywhere on the certificate. To delete, simply click the red X. And to remove the menu, just click the X. And from here, you can save changes. Okay. Cancel, and it brings you back to the menu. And now you have your certificate. And if you need to delete a certificate, simply click the checkbox and click the red X for delete. Are you sure you want to delete? Yes. If you'd like to create a new certificate without a template, create new certificate. And here you would name the certificate, include the credits. Again, you have the status, the award, the expiration, any description you would like to enter. If you scroll back up to the second tab, the certificate builder, and here is the template that is available. From here, you can include any of the information that you're looking for. Again, your drop-down menu, and you can click and drag full name, created. If you want to include the member ID, district council, any other information, issuing organization. Once you've selected the items you'd like to include on the certificate, you can close the menu and you can drag the information where you would like. And these fields are also able to be resized just a bit. So if you have someone that has a longer name, you can stretch and then recenter. You also have the option to make larger or smaller. And you can move the text as well. And once you have the information where you would like it for your certificate, you scroll down and save changes. And it's been successfully saved. Again, cancel, and that will bring you back to the menu. Here you have your certificate saved. Again, if you need to delete the checkbox, click the checkbox and then click the X. Are you sure you want to delete? Yes. All right, the next item is the email notifications. And this is a good tool if you have something that you would like to update your apprentices on. This is a time sensitive, and this is based on the way the learning path is set up. So we have an example here. And this will be automatically sent according to the parameters that you set up. So we'll open this. This is a welcome. So here you have the properties. You want to name your email, your notification for active. Now this is going to be sent to an apprentice when they're enrolled in the learning path. So you have different options here. So when they start the path, when it's due, you have different options. So in this case, we'll select the learning path enrolled, and who do we want to send it to? In this case, to the learner. You have the option of system administrator, supervisor, or you can enter a specific email. And it's coming from myself, so I put my name. Copy to is a great option here. So let's say you wanted to include an instructor or another director of training, you enter the email directly there. Send, if you check this, you want it sent when the event occurs. So to be sent when the learner enrolls or is enrolled into the learning path. Okay. And then you want to go to your message. Your subject line will be just like in an email. You create a subject line. You have a priority here, so you can choose normal, low, or high based on the nature of your message. And here in the body, you can type your message. Now, there are some options here called placeholders, and this will be auto-populated information. So we have hello and then the user's first name. So we simply go through the placeholder here, and you have options for event or object, the user, which is where we took the name, the recipient, so who's receiving, and then learning path enrollment as well. So you can see here, I said, welcome to DC 46. Here's the information for the learning path. And I included the placeholder for enrollment learning path description, and then signed it. Save changes. And this message is set up to automatically be sent when someone is enrolled in the learning path. So they will receive that. Okay, any questions?
Kelly, there was a question from Steve, but Ken already addressed it. Maybe we can just display that. It's ability to change the background image of the certificate.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe we can go back to the certificate, then open up the template for a district council. So some of the district councils sent us their signatures. So we've set up certificates of completion containing their signature. So that's simply an image that we uploaded in the system. So this is a sample district council 6 certificate with George's signature. And these are assigned to district council 6 specific course codes. So that's very possible in the LMS. So with the new enhancement, it can be assigned to a learning path. So it's a group of courses. If they complete the online courses, then they automatically get a certificate of completion. Let's say if your district council does learning path by level, by trade, so now you can assign that certificate of completion per learning path. Okay, so there's another question, Kelly, on the, can email notification be made or saved to be used on all learning paths? Yes. So the settings for the learning path emails are specific to the learning path. So if you have, I've seen district councils with 3 pages of learning path. So you can customize those emails based on your learning path or your set of enrollment. And this was, again, a request, if I remember correctly, from the Central Region. They just want to be able to notify new enrollees if they belong to a group. And is there a way to send emails, send automatic emails? Before it wasn't possible because it looked like spam, but now with the new LMS, it's customized by group or by learning path. So now it's very much possible. Any other questions for Kelly?
There's the question. I think we didn't quite answer the question about the email notifications. The question is, can you make one email and then use that on multiple learning paths?
Maybe Ken can answer that.
Yeah, Ken, can you take that one?
The short answer is no, because they're all individual learning paths that have different triggers. So you would basically just copy that information out and paste it into the new email for the 2nd learning path and 3rd learning path and 4th learning path.
Okay,
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ken.
Oh, sure.
Okay, last we have the enrollments. And here, the enrollments are the courses assigned in the learning path. So anyone that is assigned to this learning path will have all the courses that are in the learning path. So if we select the DC 46 basic level apprenticeship learning path, we have again the properties, and again we copy and paste the information from the group name. And here you have when it started. Now when you create a new one, you have the option to start immediately or choose a date. Here's the lifespan end. So if you have a certain end time, the time zone, if there's a delay, due when the learners must complete, access from the start when they have the access, and then access from launch. The next tab is the rule set. So this is where you would create the rule set. So from, we take the rule set from the group. So for instance, we have this rule set. So this is the group name that we copied, which is also the learning path name. We're taking the rule from the group. So everyone that is in the group will be in this rule set. And you want to use the filter contains. And then you want to copy and paste the label again and save changes. So again, this rule is set up for anyone who is enrolled in the learning path. So if I was to be enrolled into this learning path, every course that's in, every enrollment that's in that learning path would be assigned to me.
Yeah, so the rule set basically is a computer shortcut for allowing users to be enrolled into learning paths or groups or things like that. So basically, if you check off that box in the user demographic that said what group do they belong to, it will look at that, apply this rule, and said everybody in that group will get this enrollment, these learning paths. When they complete, they'll get this certificate. When they're enrolled, they'll get this email. So a rule set is basically a trigger on the user demographic that all of this will apply based on that one data set in the user demographic. And that was basically just the group rule. Kelly, if you could go back in there, just be cautious when you're looking at that. So basically this says that the label is just what you want to call it, but the rule says if the group contains DC 00046404C, that information, just be very specific on what you want on there. If it only said contains DC 00046, then every group that would contain 46, that rule would apply. So in actuality, you probably want that instead of say contains to say equals. So it's very specific on what it's looking at. Is probably a better way to run that rule. That way you know exactly what you're getting, because if you have a DC 0046404C basic and a DC 46404C advanced, it would pick up, depending on how far out the text goes, it potentially could pick up both of them. So just be very specific when you're working in rule sets, because a lot of things happen based on that rule.
And along those lines, can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on the modified rule set on the match any and match all, and how that applies to that qualifier of equals or contains?
Yeah, in this case, since you only have one level of a rule, it doesn't matter whether it's match any or match all. But Kelly, if you hit the little plus next to that on the right-hand side, you can basically stack these rules. So it's not only, in this case, the rule equals DC 0004644C, but you could also add another something in there. So do that first drop down. And you could say I think you have a section in there where it says like only apprentices or only instructors. And It's,
Maybe primary trade, you could add primary trade.
yeah, you could do primary trade. So select primary trade.
It's up higher. Well, yeah.
And then you could say equals glazing or painting, whatever that happens to be. So then that way, if DC 46 had multiple trades, then it would only pull the glazers or floor covering or whatever trade that they happen to have in there for this learning path. So in that case, you would probably still want to do match all, because you're basically asking the system, if the group contains 0 DC 46 404C and the primary trade equals paint, then do this. If you said match any, it's basically putting an or in between those two statements. So you would say the group equals 46 or primary trade equals paint, and it would pull that data and apply that group rule to both those cases. So it's just a matter of being kind of very specific on what you want. So in this case, if you only wanted DC 46 404C groups and their primary trade was paint, then you would say match all.
Great, thank you, Ken.
You're welcome.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, I will turn it back over to Donna and Alice. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellie. So if you don't have any questions about the learning path, we will do a quick review of the groups, because the groups are related to how the learning path works. So Alice prepared a demo for us just to provide us the highlights of the enhanced group settings. So Al?
Yeah. So the groups are definitely an administrative function and available to our admin based on permissions and their roles. And that's something that we set up for you, and as you know, from the curriculum team that will set up for you. For example, you know, as admins, you've been given the role to be able to assign enrollments, award certificates, change password, and manage groups, things like that. So for most people, most district councils, we have editable groups. So there are extra groups added to your district council so that you don't have to let us know. But if you run out of groups and you create a brand new one, you still have to let us know so that we can add that group to your role so you can manage it. So you kind of see now, maybe hopefully, that groups have a little bit of a different role now, a little bit different focus. So we used to use the groups to add enrollments for a specific group of users. Now the groups are used more, maybe more like a roster, a listing of people in a certain group, and ways to communicate using the discussion as well as sharing documents. So we'll just do a quick run through of the groups. The groups can be found through your admin menu. The green people, the users in groups, you click on that. From here, you can either add a new one using the plus sign or click on the groups to open the groups. So you were able to, from that click, you're able to add a new one here, or you can add a new group here as well. So in most cases, there are multiple ways that you'll be able to perform any particular function. So one other thing, I'm not sure, we may have pointed this out in an earlier webinar, but we do have the opportunity to limit or expose more records per page. So for this one, well, right now this is all the groups. So if I'm going to search solely for DC 46 zeros, you will see that it has 26 records and it only shows 25 per page. So if I want to be lazy, I can just set it to 50. And that way I don't have to change pages. I just scroll down and I see it. So as you see, these groups are assigned to you. You can't really add other people to the group. You won't be able to manage them, so they have to be within your district council. So if you want to take a look at one of the groups, I'm going to add a little qualifier so I can find it faster. So once you get to the group that you want to modify, there are options to look at the group properties, to use auto join rules, look at the enrollments, as well as add documents. Again, you can add a new group if you need to from there. So if you click on the group, it brings up the dashboard for that group. And there's quick links here for adding a group document. And there's also a quick link for creating an auto join rule. It tells you how many members are in this particular group. If you look at the group properties, so you're going to give it a name. If you want an avatar, you can create an avatar. We've done that for a few groups, but whatever, if you wanted something specific to, like, for instance, this is Local Union 557 Painters. If you have something specific to them, you can add your own avatar. And actually, it makes it a little bit easier when it's on your dashboard to identify it. Self-join. Here, we from the old LMS, we took the groups and added them into this and learning paths here. So we didn't allow self-enroll. Doubt that we will still, but I wanted to show you that if that's the case, it will affect which catalogs that they see, and then it would allow the learner to either join a group or not, but that would be up to you. In most cases, everybody prefers to control their own catalog access and assign the users to their courses. When I first created this group, I did click to publicize. So when you click to publicize the group, it means that the membership in this group will display on the learner's dashboard under their My Community widget. The discussion, you can either turn it on or off. And if you want it to be moderated, then you would definitely want to click that box, and I'll show you in the next one of the tabs how you identify who that moderator is. That means for the moderator that a person's comment, a member's comment, or a student's comment has to be reviewed and approved prior to being open for viewing on the discussion page. So maybe a good practice, you can choose to turn that off if you don't want discussion at all. You can have open discussion, but you still might want to take a look and see what people are saying. Short description, long description, pretty standard here. Group members, Ken ran through that really quick. We have 2 members in this group right now. You can click to add users, you can remove users. You can use that upload spreadsheet that he talked about. It has to be a tab delimited text file, kind of like when we do the uploads for completions. So that's it for the group members. Then the auto join rules is where you would really set who is going to be part of this group. So right now there are no rule sets. So we want to create a new rule set. And we are going to call it our group name. And then again, like what Kelly was just showing us, we want to add, district council. Equals, and we can add DC. You can add multiple rules. Actually, that's not the one I really wanted to do. I wanted to do a local union. Local union equals 557. So you saw that we only had 2 members in that group before. So now I'm saying anyone who is identified as a local union 557 member will get put into this local union 557 pagers group. So we can create the rule set. And again, now if you see the connection, when Kelly created the learning path and created the rule set and said, this group, enter the people in this group into this learning path, this is where you create that group. She referred to the group name being the name of the learning path and then in the rule set. So this is where those group members will come from. So now if we go back to our properties and we look at group members, well, they're not there yet. We might have to wait a little bit. But those group members will populate automatically upon entering that local union 557. Okay, so this is where you manage the users in the group that will be linked to a learning path. Not every group is going to link to a learning path. You still can use that as a means for managing users for any other particular reason. So, you might have a group that's going through some sort of certification. You just want to track who they are and what their progress is. So the next widget are the enrollments. There are no enrollments in this course right now, but what that will do, it'll allow you to manage the learning in the learning path. The tab here will show the dates and the sessions of the course, and it's populated when it's linked with the learning path, in which those learning paths enrollments are assigned. So when you see this, it'll be that page that shows you the learning path, the session date, start date, end date, or whether there's no end date, and the parameters of that particular course. The next widget is the private catalog access. Right now, admins will have access to the district council specific learning path catalog. We typically don't have catalogs open to all the users because that just means they can enroll in any courses they want to. So for now, we have everyone able to manage their group for the learning path in the course catalog. So you'll be managing your users using the rule sets and using the groups to identify those people that will be in those learning paths. This also has a discussion tab. So for this group, for members in this group, you can set a discussion. That way you can have people collaborating, talking back and forth. This is where we talked about, on the profile page, we clicked a link to have a moderator. So we identify who the moderator is. You just enter, select the member who's going to be that moderator. Typically it's the instructor or coordinator. And then when that happens, and like say for instance, this moderator sends out a welcome message and this student, who's called Training Demo 1, sent a question. And because it's moderated, they can review, the moderator reviews that question here through the group, and then we'll have to agree or approve by clicking the green arrow here. So once he clicks the green, he or she clicks the green arrow, then that question or comment will be visible to the rest of the users. And you can also delete it if it's inappropriate or you just don't want it. And it just gives you a message saying that it will now be displayed in the discussion board on the members who were in that group. Anybody have any questions so far?
Alex, I got a quick one. Let's see, the notifications, sorry, the discussion items that you just mentioned. So like we're managing discussion. Are we notified at all if somebody posts something in the discussion, given that there may be multiple groups and all that kind of stuff? Is there any sort of notification that we might get, little pop up on our widget or dashboard or anything like that?
There's usually a pop-up on your dashboard for notifications. The message, but the message will also be in on your dashboard in your discussion feed widget. It doesn't send you an email directly, but it will be there. It will alert you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
The
there'll be
little
in your notification on the top, yep, where she is right now.
Yeah,
If you're listed as a
little
moderator.
notifications.
Yep.
It'll be highlighted, or it'll have a something red. It's something red check mark or something. I can't remember what it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So those message feed moderators. Again, if you don't want the discussion, you just go back to the group properties, and
Alice,
you can change this at any time. Yes, Kelly.
there's a question, I think before you move on. When you assign courses to groups, is there a way to get the results as a group, or is it individually?
Okay, so the courses are through the learning path, so we won't actually be assigning courses in the groups. And there you can definitely run a report to see who is in which learning path based on the group. I see 12 things in the chat. Is there more? Can you guys check those out and let me know if there's something else I need to address?
Yeah, I've been trying to keep up with them and answer in the chat with questions.
Okay. If we haven't gotten to a question yet, we'll get there. Okay, and then so finally, the last widget in the groups are the documents. And this is one of the features that we all really like a lot, because it's within several areas and allows faster access, easier access to any documents that you have. I think Donna showed you the access to the documents before. You can create folders to keep yourself organized. So if you want to create a new folder, like this one, I just called it Painter's Manual. And then if you want to, you click back on it. And then if you want to add a new group document, then you would put that in. Let's see, we'll call it LU 557. There we go. And then we choose the file. And then here is where you select the folder. So if you have multiple folders created, then you just click which folder you want that document to reside in. And again, you can use search. And then click create group document. And now that document is available to that group member. It'll also be in the documents list on your dashboard. So a little bit different use of the groups. Might get a little, might need to think about it a little bit, but definitely managing your members in this group. And that group is what's assigned to the learning path. So your learning path won't have, you notice there weren't any people in the learning path. So the people come from the group. Okay, does anybody have any questions? That was a quick run through. So and then any group will be displayed when you click that one, the alert one, it will display in your My Community on your homepage. So you'll be able to access everything from there. Okay, just check this. Are there any questions that we need to address? No.
Just one quick question.
Yeah.
This webinar will be available to review again, like the past ones, because I know that I'm going to find myself going back and looking through this. But
yes, we are recording this, and we'll post it when we're finished.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
And Wayne, the steps are also available in the manual. So we'll send out all that information
Okay.
after the.
I see some changes from the previous system we were running, so it's just a matter of getting used to the changes, I think, with the groups and what enrollments are in there. Thank you, Donna.
Okay.
Alice, I was trying to find out whether we need to add a group every time we have a class.
You can, no, you don't have to create a group for every class. If you have a group for your class, you just add your members. So if you have new members coming in or adding them to a new class group, then once you add them to the group and they're assigned to that learning path, they'll automatically get those enrollments. So you don't have to create a new group every time.
But then won't everybody in that learning path get the same emails when you send?
No, but when they're added to the group, Ken, are they alerted when they get signed?
The email that we showed earlier would be on enrollment into the learning path. So yes, every time a person is added to a learning path, they would get an email. So you really don't need to create a group for, you know, the January through June class. You don't need one for the 2021 class unless you want to sort them and find them that way. Automatically, they should just be enrolled based on the demographics in their username, like we saw, you know, part of this group, part of, you know, that they're an apprentice. They should automatically get that learning path no matter when they're added to that. So you should always know where they are. You can, and I'm getting ready to show you reports on learning paths where you can sort by, you know, enroll dates and things along those lines. So I don't really think you guys are really going to need to create as many groups that you did in the past. So it may be a good exercise to kind of go through and figure out why you want to create the groups, if it was just because you did it in the past, or is there a specific reason on creating them in the future, and kind of discuss that with Donna and Alice and figure out if it's really even needed anymore. Some of that stuff probably isn't needed compared to the way it used to be done.
Okay, I've only ever added or only used 3 groups. But then as I enroll a student in level 1, when they're finished, I just add level 2. But with this new system, I'm just wondering if I send an email to the group, it's going to be sent to everybody in the group, not just the guys in that particular class.
Yeah, so it's your option either to send the email through the group or through the learning path. So the group may be everybody. Let's say you have a class, that's everybody. But the learning path may be by level, by semester, or by trade. So then you can customize your email. Or again, you don't need to create the email if that causes any confusion within the for your members.
Okay. Thank you.
So I just wanted to point out when I created that auto join rule for this group. So my auto join rule said, I'll show you real quick. Said anyone with 557 as a local union gets put into this group. The local union painters. So now you can see that we went from 2 to many. So it's an easier way for you to populate your groups. If you know for sure they're coming in, and your group can be way more specific than this. You know, if you wanted to be a bridge painter, you can have a group that's for bridge painters only and attach them to align them with the learning path for the bridge painters.
Yeah, and with the rule set that Alice just did, from 2 members, she just created a rule or some settings for the system that tells her, can you automatically join members of local union 557? And from 2 members, she jumped to 940 in a minute. So that helps with the manual entry of the members of the group. Before, we had to manually search for the member ID, copy and paste, and then you have to enter all those 10 or 100 participants. So now if there is a defined requirement, or if it's something that can be set as a rule, the system can do it for you. So that's one of the things that can help with the admin time for group setup.
Okay, are there any other questions about groups right now?
Yeah, this is Sean, DC50. So essentially just, we could actually just have a group for each trade, since we have 4 trades here, and then in the learning paths would, I guess, kind of be detailed more on painter basic, painter level 2, painter level 3, and then that would be, that could be attached to the painter group.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of different ways to do it that are, some are more broad, some are more specific. Donna and I are going to show you kind of just a little concept of a best practice on using the groups and the learning paths. But yeah, I mean, that's wide open for you to use the way you want to use it, the best way for you to manage your members and your students. So, you know, maybe you just want to experiment with it a little bit and decide what might work best for you. But yeah, what you were saying, Sean, is definitely something you can do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Donna, do you want me to share the our document? Or do you have the PowerPoint? I think you have it. I'll stop sharing so you can share.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay, so Sean gave us a good sample of how the new LMS can be used. So he has a group of classes per trade, and the learning path may be different. So he would just simply assign the learning path. So this is a summary of what Alice and Kelly just presented, and it's a discussion of the old setup and a suggested sample. So with the old setup, we have a class. Let's say we have a group of 11 painters. So we had 2 options. Either we give them all the classes. So some district councils, let's say they give them all the curriculum from level 1 to 4. But most of the district councils are using option 2, where they have different levels, different semesters, and they assign it to the class. So, and everything was managed through the groups. So we were going to the admin menu. So if you're a coordinator or an admin managing the new class, so you were managing it through the groups and managing it through the roster. And that's adding members to that group. Then the group was also our way of assigning enrollment. So in this setup, there's not much flexibility. So if we have a new class, we have to rebuild the group and we have to rebuild the enrollment. So if we have 20 people in the new group, we have to recreate the roster and we have to recreate the enrollment. So let's say for a period of 2 years or 10 years, we might have multiple groups and multiple enrollments. And the other thing about the old setup is the apprentice view. So all they're seeing is a bunch of courses that can be filtered either by course code or course name, but still there's no guide for them to follow unless you have provided a syllabus or a printout so that you can specify for this week, this would be our priority. So there's not much guide for our apprentices. So with the suggested setup in the new system, we're saying that you can start managing your roster still through the groups, but with added enhancements. You can use the rule set where if you have certain requirements, you can auto-populate your members. Or some of us are good with spreadsheets. So if you already have that spreadsheet, you just upload your spreadsheet and you don't need to manually enter them one by one. Then our suggestion is with the enrollment, use the learning path because it gives you more flexibility. So you can create multiple learning paths, and that would be managed maybe once in 5 years, once in 10 years, unless you have a change in your curriculum. So all the enrollments would be there. Then the good thing about it, once they log in, they actually see a path. So they can view it if, for example, this person has been added to a learning path for their district council, they can just click that level and that would be their focus. And they're not, unless you set it up where it forces them to follow a sequence. So now they're seeing the actual curriculum based on the setup that you did for them. So looking at it long-term, so maybe your new group would be the classes or the rosters per year, or again, depending on how you view it long-term. Then you're just selecting the default learning path based on how you manage your enrollment. Then the groups would start populating by year or by semester. So this is one of the samples that you can do with the new system. So less work for the admin or coordinators and better way to manage the rosters. So do you have any questions? If you don't have any questions, we have Ken here to talk about the reporting feature of the learning path. So since it's a new feature, there's a way to filter these completions. Ken?
Yep, thanks guys. You guys are probably already familiar with reports, but some of the new things that were added, we do have the ability to run reports just on learning paths. Same that you always had demographics and transcripts. You have ILT transcripts, so instructor-led training transcripts. We also have discussion reports as well. So what we've been talking about are the learning paths. So if you click a new learning path report for the transcript, you can see a lot of the information that's available in the columns, similar to what we had previously. It's a user demographic across the top. So if I want the full name, username, whatever you want to find on the demographic, but the stuff down here is specific to the learning path. So I can say learning path, enroll date, date end, the status.
And are you intending to share because you're not sharing your screen?
Oh, that would be helpful.
Now you have to start over.
I'll go back. So, sorry, I hit the unmute. So I'm in the report section of the LMS on the purple icon over here on the left. So you can see just what you normally saw was demographics, course transcripts. Here's the learning path transcripts, instructor-led training transcript section, and even discussion feeds. So I went here, created a new learning path report. And these are the columns in the spreadsheet that we were going to be looking at. So if I select username, first name, really any demographic that you want to look at. But then the new stuff is down here on the bottom. So you can see the learning path, enroll date, end date, their status, due date and date complete, whatever you want to put in the report. And then same thing, you can filter it. You can say that the enroll date is after, before, the last 7 days, the last week, 2 months, whatever, however you want to filter those reports. I'll just say the last 7 days, run a report. The system will give me information back. Here's a report, shows you the full name, username, learning path, the enroll date. So all these people were enrolled in learning paths and what the learning paths were. So you can access this information at any time, and you can find the usernames that are in these learning paths. You can copy them from here, go and paste and see how the user is progressing. So you have full access to all the learning path information that's in here, and you can print that out. If you wanted to see it in HTML, Excel, or PDF, so you can see the report in a PDF format and save it on your local computer, you can do that. We talked a little bit about the discussions before. So I noticed when Alice was typing before that the word painters was in the report. Let me get my controls out of the way. So the same kind of thing where it's specific to the discussion area. So you can do the discussion object, the message, the timestamp. I can just select everything. And I only want to filter it, and I only want to see the message contained painters. It was one of the sample messages that Alice had up earlier. I believe said painters. So I can go in and run reports on all the discussions that contained and had anything to do with the word painters. So you can see this is the message. Hi, Tara. This is appearing on my LMS page. You can, anybody that you have access to those discussion boards, you can run reports against and see where they are. So that'll be a pretty nice feature going forward as well. So go in, look at the reports. I think they are a lot better, a lot simpler. They will take a little time playing with them, but the learning path transcripts are here. The instructor-led training transcripts are here, and the discussion board, as those start to get utilized a little bit more, they will be in there as well. So again, a lot of it contains the same demographic information, but then the bottom section is, in this case, it's instructor-led training. What was a module? What was a session? Who was the instructor? What was the roster status? Success status, session score, and then you can filter it by any of the information that you wanted. So if you know the module name, the date, the session start date, whatever you have access to, you can filter it on that information. So same thing that you can do with all the reports. You can set the order that they go in, and then the properties to make it private or public. Once you save a report, then you can set it up for a subscription. So the reports are very powerful. They have been expanded. So you should be able to find pretty much all the information you need through the regular demographics, course transcripts. Just remember the learning path is specific to learning paths. If you want anything on a specific individual course, I would still use the course transcript feature as well. So that's a quick run through on the reports. Were there any questions? Okay. I'll turn it back over to you, Donna. You're muted now.
Okay, it's my turn. So Alice will give us the next steps. She'll talk about phase 3. So we have another webinar to talk about ILT and the other features. Then she'll also do the wrap up. So Al.
Okay, yeah, so the next step after this is to practice. Just get on there, experiment with the features that we presented. Some of you may have already been doing that. If you get stuck, please let us know. Donna and I and Kelly, she's called on pretty quickly. We'll be able to help you over the phone or help you via email, or if needed, we can do a quick webinar again. So that's more specific to your question. But please don't hesitate if you're struggling. If you have any questions, if you just can't figure it out, please let us know, and we are always happy to help. So next steps, phase 3 of the LMS rollout is going to focus on, you've heard the instructor-led training a couple of times. It'll focus on the instructor-led training feature, as well as the web meeting integration using GoToMeetings, GoToWebinar, GoToTraining, WebEx, Zoom, And I think Ken shared earlier that we can now use Microsoft Teams as an option. So I'll be working with our IT department as well as Ken so that we can kind of go through all the possibilities to see if we can do multiple or if we have to stick with one feature for web meeting integrations. So between now and probably mid-June, we're going to be looking to be doing what we do with the curriculum department. Our little group is we have learning sessions with Ken, just learning sessions among ourselves, and we experiment and walk through all of the features. We sometimes find a bug, or we find something that just isn't working right, or we find something that we don't ever think we're going to use, and we relay that information back to the programmers. And then it goes through their process. So our goal is mid-June to roll out that instructor-led feature as well as any web integration that we decide that we can use. And then really, I think that will be it. We can always cover other information. If we need a quick review, we'll probably do that as well. And in the meantime, as I said, just go ahead and start using it. Ask us if you have questions. We don't want anybody to flounder or feel lost or frustrated, especially. So are there any questions, anything we need to go back over before we end the call? Anybody need to see anything again, or just not sure what question to ask?
Real quick question, and this may not pertain to today's seminar, but how are the email issues handled when a student finds a problem in a module where the information is not correct, or the answers to the test questions are way out of whack? How is that being addressed?
So we ask that you use the FTI International mailbox and send us as much detail as you possibly can about what the problem is. If there are incorrect answers in the question, please provide the correct answers, because we won't know. And then any detail that if there is incorrect content, provide us with the content that you feel should be in there. Sometimes it has to go back to committee for review if it is a change in content. Otherwise, sometimes it's a quick fix. We can, update a quiz, republish it, and put it back up there. So, the sooner you get the questions to us through the email, the sooner we can address it and hopefully resolve the issues.
That's exactly what I thought. And some of these, Alice, are things to be repetitive even from a year or two ago. And they were addressed at one point in time with hopes that with the new system 2.0 was launched, a lot of that would be fixed. But there's still a few areas that I think need tweaking. So I'll try to put that in email form and get that to you directly.
That would be great. Yeah, anything content-wise, definitely, you need to send to us. And if you're having any specific issues with an LMS feature, then let us know as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we do rely on all of you for keeping us up to date with content. If something has changed or something isn't quite right, we'd like to know about it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone just dazed and confused? Oh, no.
Alice,
Yes.
great job. Nice new additions. Moving along just great. Like you said, we just got to get in and practice.
Yes. Yep. I agree wholeheartedly. I think it's going to be a good system. Okay, well, if there are no other questions, again, use the FTI International email box. If you have any questions, concerns, need to report something not functioning properly, just use the mailbox. Donna, Kelly, myself, we, on a daily basis, try to check that and try to get back to you, within 24 to 48 hours. Okay, well, thank you all for attending today. And we'll be in touch. Stay safe, stay well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Happy
Thank
Mother's
you.
Day, ladies.